Colin Powell once said, "There are no secrets to success. It's the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure." And we couldn't agree more. This is Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. We'll talk to people from all walks of life and pick their brains about their journey, the process, and the ups and downs to becoming successful. You want inspiration and motivation? It all starts here. This is the Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. And now your host, Kyle Sullivan.
What's going on, champions? Welcome to another episode of Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. Our guest today is Shametria Gonzales. She's got an extraordinary story of transforming her life from being trafficked, escaping extreme poverty, to being the founder, life coach, and real estate investor. She's the inspiration behind her bold mission to teach others that it's possible to do exactly the same. Today, she talks worldwide, and people revere her for her mastery of teaching people how to accomplish unfathomable goals and tap into their limitless potential. I mean, come on now. She's spoken on stages like the Zurich Classic, Dress for Success Worldwide Conference, and Grant Cardone's 10X Growth Conference, just to name a few. Shametria has committed her life to providing women that have been trafficked with homes for grace and unleashing people to speak all around the world. That last phrase knows why we linked up and are so aligned. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I could not wait to do this podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, so for our listeners that don't know, we met during the Great American Speak Off, and we were both competing in that. She crushed me. It's okay, but from the jump, you just meet people that's got a genuine spirit, a genuine energy. Couple that with a story that is just insane, what you overcame and continue to overcome. So we got the bio. We know what you're doing, but who's Shametria behind the bio?
Yeah, I love when people read my bio because then I'm going to talk about myself. But Shametria behind the bio is definitely a country girl who had a really big dream, an overcomer, a survivor, an overachiever, and somebody who is, rooted in service, somebody who loves people and is on a mission to impact as many people as I can to become better versions of themselves. I used to say the best version of themselves, but when that happens, I think you close to death. Because you always get better. So just really a humble spirit that is in love with people and in love with what I do. I get to live my dream every day.
So before living the dream, I mentioned some of it in the bio, it wasn't just like, hey, I was born, I got this good path, now I'm inspiring people. You've been through some stuff.
Yeah.
And so talk about as deep as you'd like to go with that, but also like, what overcoming adversity has meant to you and how that really anchors you in what you do now.
Yeah, from the moment that I was born, I tell people I was a fighter. I was born with crack cocaine in my system. So from that point on, I was a little smaller. I had a couple complications. My parents were addicted to drugs. So they were great people. They tried their hardest to get rid of that sickness, and they would try to get me. My dad would get me. My mom would get me. I'd go by my grandmother, go to a shelter, go to a foster home, get adopted. Like I never had stability growing up. And so at 15 years old, I was like, you know what? I'm emancipating myself. Like I'm sick of this. I'm about to be grown. For people that don't know, a child can go to court and legally emancipate themselves to say, I am grown. I am a caretaker for myself. Any proceeds from the state or the government that come should come directly to me because I am sustainable I'm able to sustain myself. So I did that at 15 years old. I was out on my own and I was proud of myself. Like I was a pretty good student, athlete. I was really smart. I was a great, person in my heart. I was always happy because I didn't know what happened to me was not normal. Like I didn't know that growing up place to place, home to home, having parents addicted to drugs, being poor, that was my life. So I was just finding any way I could find happiness in that I did. And most of my refuge was in school. So I was 15, working at Sonic Drive-In, going to school. And I tell everybody, when you are a child and you have people that are supportive of you and that oversee you, be a child while you can be a child. You need that type of love and support or somebody watching over you to make sure you're okay. Because at 15, when I was legally grown, nobody was able to do that for me. So these women came to me. They were just like, how much money you make, girl? I was like, I make $100 a day. I was happy about my life. And they were predators. They were actually undercover looking for women that they could traffic. But they didn't say that. They kind of came around in nice cars, talking to me, giving me big tips, baiting me in. And so finally they were like, look, this money's okay, but you need to make real money, you need family. And I didn't care about the money because I never had money. It didn't bother me, but family is what got me. So when they were like, look, you need family, you need somebody to, lean on, to guide you. That's what got me. So ultimately, I was just kind of in a space to where I'm like, okay, look, I'll come. So we went there, met this guy named Snake, and he was a god in my eyes. Like, he said all the right things. He was so nice to me. He did stuff to me that I never had done. I was a little kid. I know this stuff was even existing. I don't know what, I can't, I don't explain that, but it's just, they seduced me in a way that was just kind of like mind blowing. And it made me feel like I was a part of something bigger than me and that this person loved me. Right. So, first it started off just as waitressing at, poker tournaments. Then it went from waitressing at poker tournaments to going and doing stuff at like clubs and these outskirt like parties. And then it was like, look, take this. It's going to help you forget everything. Just trust me, go to sleep, wake up. And that's when I was like, wait, hold up. Like, first I could still go to school the first couple of years, but after they started drugging us, it was like I had to drop out of school. I was just go to sleep, wake up, do the same thing every day over and over again. I never got any of my money. The money went to the household pot, which they said they used to, keep everything going. So this went on for a couple of years. And the reason that I say Unleash the Champ is my champion, and I adore Kyle so much, is because I talked a lot and I was a champion, but I was bound. And when you're in bondage, you can't go forward or backwards. So I was just stuck every day. It was like a nightmare. And a pastor came in and I told him my story. And I used to always talk too much. So my punishment was that I would get tape on my mouth and I'd get thrown, kind of like put in the basement. Sometimes you don't eat, sometimes you don't drink a day or two. But I learned to be quiet and not share my story. But after a while, this pastor who was undercover, I didn't know he was a pastor. I just thought he was a square, somebody that I just happened to have a moment of breaking down because one of my best friends, her name is Cinnabons, she took too much drugs and she didn't wake up. I didn't know if she died or not, but I know when I told the house mom, she was like, don't worry about it. But I never saw her again. So after a couple of weeks, this man comes in and I'm like pretty balling. I didn't even take my pills that day. So I was sober and I just was going to get it over with. I had the mindset to just be like, let me just tell him what's going on. So I told him just about what happened with Cinnabons. I didn't tell him what was going on with me or the household or trafficking, none of that, because I didn't even see that as wrong. That was a part, that's just what we did. But that was enough for him to be able to get an investigation going under the premises of murder versus prostitution or him trying to infiltrate a system. So they came in, FBI guns, put everybody on the ground. Everybody got a prostitution charge that was of legal age except me. So when I say unleash to speak, I literally feel like because I shared my story with one person, I never would have shared it with him if I knew who he was. But because I did that, I was able to go and redevelop myself, redevelop my life. I got saved. We saved all those other young girls. Everybody don't have the same outcome as me, but I wrote my story to all these colleges. Southern University picked me up. I got to red shirt the first year, heal myself, work on my team skill leaderships, work on school, getting my grades correct. I didn't even have a high school diploma, but I had a college scholarship. So I was able to get my GED and, then go to college and graduate. And so it's all of these moving variables, but it started with me sharing my story, it started with me being saved by a pastor. It went on to me being unleashed to speak. So then I was on a team of people at my college. I played volleyball and basketball. I needed to stay busy, had all of my needs met because I had a full scholarship. So I was able to eat 3 times a day, live at a house, have a team around me to help me accountable, work on schoolwork. And, it just, so it's actually just this weird paradigm shift that happened, but it took all of those things that happened up until the point of me getting saved to me saving myself and going into college and then graduating and then going to save others and putting advocacy work behind the work that I do. So I know that was kind of, a lot for somebody, and I share it with such smile and empathy and just love and energy because it's my story. And it took years for me to even share that with anybody because I was so embarrassed because after I got out, I was like, okay, now I'm gonna go to college and be this amazing woman and nobody's ever gonna know what's happened to me. So it still took a while for me to be okay with, because I wanted to just get away from that. I wanted it to go away. But then I heard, I think Ed Millett said, what you make it out of qualifies you to help others that are still in it. And I'm like, oh, okay, so people aren't going to judge me for my story. It's going to help me, motivate, they care about my story. And that's when I felt like I was unleashed as people.
Yeah. No, you could take all the time you wanted and share your story because it all the stuff that we see now, and as people start to follow you after you listen to this, or they've already known about you and they're coming to listen to this conversation, your story does qualify you. And, when I talk about, what does former, D1 athlete, drug dealer, pastor, entrepreneur, speaker, what do all those have in common? They're all seasons of life for me. And it's like, hold on, wait, what? Those things don't match up, but it shows the resiliency. It shows one of the things that I love that you said is everybody that got out of that house doesn't have the same story as you, but they did have the same opportunity. And one of the things that I've loved as we've gotten to know each other, as I've heard your story a few times, is that you didn't wait for the perfect moment. You took the moment and made it perfect.
Wow. Thank you.
And so it's like, hey, here's this thing. Okay. How do we adapt? How do we adjust? Where was that just circumstantial learning, or is there some intention around, okay, when something happens, good, bad, or indifferent, however we want to say that, how do you go, okay, how do I make this for my good and for the impact of those I want to serve?
So I always say 2 things. The first one is your intention gets people's attention. And attention is the most valuable estate that we have right now because everybody's views and looks and likes, and don't nobody know you, they can't grow you. If don't nobody know you, they can't blow you. So you got to put yourself out there. And people, once you do, now you're exposed. And so they're going to see through you because they don't even care about what you say, your tonality. They care about how you feel. And it's something about my intentionality of look, I didn't know I was getting myself out of being trafficked. I just thought that I was hurting and I shared my story. And it was just weird to me. I really was hurt. I felt like I betrayed my family. That took a long time for me to get over, to even forgive the pastor. It took a long time for me to get to the point where I was like, I see now why you did what you did. And yes, some women got charges. Yes, you broke down an organization. Unfortunately, the main person didn't get arrested, but a lot of his other people did. Thank you. Now I can say that, but that took years. So my intention was really just sharing, just expressing myself in a way. So it had to be some divine intervention through God because I didn't know that's what I was doing. So your intention is always going to be something that gets you a good result when it comes from a good place, even if you don't know what it is. So when I went to college, I didn't know nothing about a master's degree or a degree, a bachelor's. And I didn't know what my, my major was till I was in junior. I just knew survive. I could eat. I could bring my daughter. I could have a home. Bet. I'm there. I had I got to pass to play. Got you. I'm going to pass my classes. I get a refund check. Oh, Thank you. Yes, give it to me. I did not know what a degree was. I didn't care about that. And I'm not trying to knock a degree. I needed to survive. And I had a daughter out of that situation that needed to be there with me. Now you ask me, how did you go to GrowthCon and get to speak with Grant? I didn't know who Grant was. No, I love Grant and Elena, and I appreciate what they do. I love what they're doing. But my intention wasn't to go speak at GrowthCon. It was to share my story and to motivate young women who had been through what I had been through. I don't know what Grant saw in me, but my intention was to just be authentic. And they appreciated that authenticity. So that's the first one. And then the second one, when you say, why did you just keep going? There's an analogy that I love. When there was a group of catfish, it was catfish. And these people owned a big catfish farm. They were trying to figure out how to get catfish from one side of the world to the other. So the first test they did, they took the catfish and put them in regular water and shipped them across. They died. The second test they did, they put them in water and they froze them. They were soggy. The third test they did, they put the catfish's enemy in the water with them, which means the catfish kept swimming because they couldn't stop, and they made it. That one moment, they realized if you have opposition against you, just like I'm a God-fearing woman, God sometimes will allow the enemy to test you just to give you enough pressure so you can get to where you got to go, so you won't be comfortable. I'm telling you, it's sickening, dude. But the catfish analogy, like, I can't stop. Since GrowthCon, Grant, you chose me as the only woman over all these amazing people. You better believe I'm going to prove them right because they believe in me. You believed in me. So I'm going to book every stage that I possibly can because, Pete, you showed me a tool. Pat Quinn, you gave me a signature talk. Coach Stormy, Elena, y'all motivated. Y'all saw something in me. And it wasn't competition. It was creativity. So because they believe in me and everybody, all eyes on me, like Tupac said, I'm a catfish in water right now. And the enemy is doubt, limiting beliefs, the person who raped me, the person who oppressed me, my trafficker, all the people who talked about me because I did make it on that stage. Bet I'm gonna prove y'all wrong.
Come on, bet on me. I'm gonna prove you wrong.
You got me preaching now.
Yeah, we're about to pass the bucket. See, y'all, this is how our phone calls go. So we got to record an episode of the podcast. So talk about what you're most excited about now. So we kind of got, okay, hey,
yes,
here's where you've been, here's where you're at, but like, where are you going? Because I know, but our listeners don't. And so tell them about what all is happening. And I know you stay with a full schedule, but it's because you have a big impact to make.
Yeah. No. So at the end of the story, basically, I got out of college. I went into being a community organizer, ran for city council, became an organizer, wrote a couple books, started speaking on stages, and then I got my real estate license. And so now it's this beautiful. Then we opened a not-for-profit for women who have been trafficked. So it's like there's these different entities, right? So you have a woman who's an entrepreneur who has a for-profit business. That's Unleashed to Speak. So I'm helping women and survivors to use their voice to advocate at the local, federal, state level to be able to change laws, but also helping entrepreneurs to do the same thing I'm doing, which is get on stages, share your story. And I've learned from some of the best. And I feel that only when you've learned and implemented can you teach. So now I'm just getting started within that, but I am doing that. When it comes for the not-for-profit, it's called Home for Grace. So I have a not-for-profit for women who have been trafficked. And I also have Seed for Grace, which is a foundation. So either you can donate, and I'm fundraising for women who have been trafficked. So local not-for-profits can call us and say, hey, we have a woman here that needs help with her light bill. We have a woman here that because I needed money. I needed a home. I needed a group of people around me to support me in that. So I'm creating this beautiful network of healing for women, as well as providing them homes so they can be able to do what they need to do and have a safe place to heal. Then I haven't told anybody this. I got a call from my pastor yesterday, Champ. You're hearing it here for the first time. I am getting ordained and licensed under the covering of Pastor J.K. Perry, who that last name is very connected. I'll just say that. He called me yesterday, Kyle. He said, God has released me to ordain you and license you. I already have Grace Ministries.
Come on now.
Which is, it's a church incorporated with the state. I was prepared. I didn't ask him to do that. I asked him to help, to guide me on how to start a church, because I'm cool with real estate. I'm cool with a not-for-profit. I'm cool with fundraising. I'm cool with helping people use their voice. I would give all of that up to be able to have a ministry. And now I have somebody who's giving me the tools to be able to do that. And so I'll let you know, it's going to be in Houston when we do the ceremony, and I'll have a virtual link for people to watch. And I mean, the full deal, like the robe, the clothes, I'm going to be licensed with the state. I can physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally change my walk, change my path, and be a pastor and a minister and evangelize. So those are the offices that I'm going under. So I haven't told anybody. I got this news yesterday.
Come on now.
If you ask me what I'm the most excited about, is God's. Yeah. There are a lot of false prophets. There are a lot of women out there that are in thought culture and dismantling what morality is for women. But as a woman that came from there, been there, done that, made money, God took it right back. It's time. And I believe that I have a place in the kingdom, and that will open up every door that has ever been shut in my face and the faces of women all around me. So that is what the other stuff is cool. Y'all can talk to me about it. Like, I love that. But ministry, building this ministry out. And I'm going to talk to you about it off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so excited.
Gosh, here's what I continue to like. It's making most of the moments you have, and when others come, it's like, yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll walk into that. And, people would say, and I know folks have, from our conversation, be like, man, you're so lucky. And that's the thing that is said when people have success or they're building something, they get a break, right? A break. It's like, what I love is that you've been preparing for over a decade doing this when no one, and there are probably a lot of times where you thought you were buried, but you were just planted for a time such as this. And so I love that. I love what's most exciting to you. And I love the heart behind it, because as you mentioned in the beginning, your story could have been very different.
Yeah.
You had the same experience up to a breaking point as a bunch of other girls. Yeah. And then it split. And what you're doing now, being ordained, being licensed, having the ministry, having the not-for-profit, having the for-profit, doing all of the stuff. It's like, I'm so inspired just by being able to call you a friend.
Thanks.
And so you need to know that. And it's just really cool how something that was seeming like, oh, we're going to go do this little professional speaker competition thing has produced some of the most dope friendships. And so, yeah, I'm going to give you your flowers for sure. Where can folks find you online, and how can they be in touch with all that you're doing?
Yeah, so some value that I'll give to your audience. One, anytime you are going to do something, do it in your name. And anything that you're going to put as your business, trademark it. So everything that I do, even though I have Unleashed to Speak, Home for Grace, the Seed for Grace, Grace Ministries, it's under Shametria Gonzales Incorporated. That is my first advice to you guys. Trademark it so you own you. Because in America, anybody can trademark anything. So before you have something, I know, like you said, a decade long of doing this, but I kept my stuff to myself. And the one time I did tell somebody my idea, they trademarked it. And then they're trying to sell it back to me. Shametria Speaks is my name, but they have it trademarked. And I can't own it. So I tell everybody Shametria Gonzales is mine. So put it under your name, but that is what I also did. So you can find everything under ShametriaGonzales.com. All of my articles, Google, my stories, YouTube. I do a lot of OPSs, me and Kyle learned that it's called Other People's Stages. This is one of them. And so basically, anywhere that you put my name in, if I'm on anybody's stage, on anybody's article, podcast, my website, everything goes through Shametria Gonzales. And I think Kyle will put it underneath, or maybe put it in the link of the chat, but it's Shametria and then Gonzales, Gonzales. And yeah, I have a lot of things coming up. So for the most part, I like to give people their flowers as well. Kyle also has a lot of things coming up. So I'm excited to be a part of that. I can't say them yet because I don't know if we put them out there yet, but I'm excited for you, Kyle.
Soon.
Friend of yours. And to anybody who's listening to this and watching this man has put so much into his brand, into his story, into redeveloping himself as well. And is a man of God, a man of faith. And I am proud to call you my friend. And I just look forward to see what God is going to do in both of our lives as we continue to move forward.
Absolutely. We still tailgating. Kickoff ain't even happened yet.
I'm just saying.
So before we let you go, I got one more question. It's the same after every interview. No two answers are the same because no two people are the same. But at Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast, we want to know, what does it mean to be a champion to you?
Man, to be a champion to me is to be for the people. Because in order to be a champion, you have to be for something bigger than you. Because just to be a champ, that may be, you're a leader, you're a thought changer, you're a provoker, but I'm a student athlete first. So the word champion to me is rooted in winning, but it wasn't winning for me. It was winning for my team and being the best at in doing that. And anybody in business or anywhere else, even if you were a champion in track, you need a coach. So to me, it's a champion is somebody who is a winner, but they are doing it for something bigger than them. And then their name is remembered based on their efforts, not what they drove, not how much money they had, but based on their efforts and the change that they caused, the impact that they made. Michael Jackson is a champion in music. Michael Jordan is a champion in basketball. Bill Gates is a champion. Shametria Gonzales is a champion. Kyle Sullivan is a champion. Because we're making an impact, we're the best at what we do, but we do it for something bigger than us, greater than us. And because of that, it leaves a legacy and you won't be forgotten. So to me, that's a champion. You're a winner, but you're a winner for a team and you are rooted in character and morality. And even if you lose, you still can be a champion based on the character that you portray and the attitude that you have. And you live to fight another day, like Friday.
Come on. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being on the show today. It was a gem, as I knew it would. It's going to be shared all over, as I believe it will be. And you blessed us today. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Unleash the Champ Leadership Podcast. Our passion is to talk to successful people and hear all about their journey and what it took to get there. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit up the website at unleashthechamp.com. Find us on Instagram at Kyle J. Sullivan and hit up that Facebook page at Unleash the Champ. Remember, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But by all means, keep moving.